All right, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, we're sick, but you know what? The show goes on. We must give you the update. Now, when we look at what's happening and where we're at, when we go over to something like the daily, you get a lot of answers really quickly, just so we get started out here. There's no big update here on SPY. You have the 200 SMA sitting right here at 418, 419 roughly. That is a major inflection point. You zoom out even a little bit more. You have the 100 SMA, I believe, right here as well. We'll turn it on really quickly. The 100 weekly moving average, daily moving, they're all there, right? They're all kind of coming to this certain point here. Now, what I also would like to highlight, you go to the 4 hour, you look here as well. A lot of wicks down here. What does that mean, right? Buyers trying to hold you up. Buyers are showing up at this level, right? Before I go any further, okay, we look at what's happening via data, what's happened from the Fed, everything along those lines. I understand the bearish thesis. I've been bearish. I've been aiming for downside. But when we're getting to these very big levels, it's going to require more to continue to push you down. You understand what I'm giving to you here? So when we look at where we're going here, you're going to have to see another data pull, in my opinion, some bad news from the Fed. You're going to have to see something that's going to enable you or give you a reason to push to this point. Because up until now, you've had multiple opportunities to come down, and they just cannot push you down. Now, we also, really quick, Yahoo Finance. This is the easiest way to do it. And so you guys know I'm not manipulating or looking at something that, something that I just want to see. Volume-wise, we've had some of our best volume over the past week and a half or so coming down to this level, right? A lot of selling pushing us down. But ultimately, we're sitting at this, key point. We're not breaking through it. Okay, next, we're looking at Nasdaq, right? NQ. The biggest point I can say here, 14.6. I've been saying it. If you've been following on the channel, you know 14.6, 14.6, 14.6. It's that major inflection point. Until we break below that, there's no more confirmation, right? And I've gone on the tangent. I've explained why, right? We've seen big sectors, XLE, energy, getting hammered. XLI, industrials, gotten hammered. XLV, healthcare, hammered. XLF, financials, hammered. But the one sector that's staying resilient is XLK, tech, right? And Nasdaq is the tech ETF, if you will, right? The tech index. And the Nasdaq is holding up very well. It's very much off that support. In comparison, we look at something like ES. Where's ES? It is below its support, 4,300. You're below that point. Very weak, not good. But what I will say here is that we look at the daily, is these are decent candles. Buyers are trying to hold you up here, okay? This is worth mentioning. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to say, right? Personal opinion here. That's where we're at. But again, for confirmation to the downside, this is what I want to say right now. ES, you're still not looking great. Granted, SPY, you're above the 200 SMA, but you're below 4,300. If you get above 4,300, I like the upside opportunity. I'm going to tell you that right now. NQ, you're never broke support. So above 14.6, you're still looking for a bounce. You have to be, right? You just got to be. Below 14.6, you're in trouble. You're going straight down to 14.2, 5, 14.3 roughly. My personal opinion there as well. But until then, you're expecting buyers to continue to show up down here in 14.6 is roughly. That's where you're looking for us to happen. Now, we had some interesting action on the day, but before we go into that, I have to go a little bit more into a few more things, right? Consider liking, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps out tons. I appreciate all of the support. I'm not going to waste any time, but if you come here every single day, again, Monday through Friday, videos for you updating on how the market is moving. The Discord link also, too, if you are interested, is down below. You check it out. There's never any pressure. If you want education, understand how and why we're trading, there's always free information. But if you want to see everything, like, literally, this is all free, right? There's no paid tier here, anything like that. But if you want to, trade with us daily, understand what we're looking at, ask us questions throughout the day, see our quick watch list every morning, see all the charts that we're going over, right? You have access to all that, all the bots, etc. It's all inside of Discord. So if you are ready for the next step, consider taking it. But I encourage you to take a deep dive into education first. Now, what I'm going to do real quick is go to TradingView so I can show you some of the fundamental indicators we're looking at here as well, right? Just really quickly, we're going to go into here really quick. Now, the first thing we're looking at is the dollar. Now, I mentioned the dollar yesterday. Okay, what was the dollar doing? So here on the 4 hour, let's go to the daily real quick, actually. So the daily, we look here, right? Very easy chart to be watching, right? 2 points we've been watching, 105.8 and then the 107.2-ish, right? Okay. On the daily, very clear. You came into, rejected. Now we're pushing out even further. Not ideal behavior. You're looking for that retest back into 105.8. Now, when I look here, I'm like, okay, this isn't really necessarily bearish for the dollar. I can see the dollar still running, and I still could see the dollar running. I want that to be known. But the whole idea behind what's happened with inflation and the resurgence of inflation, in my opinion, has stemmed from oil. And I've been tweeting a little bit about oil, and oil came into its big resistance, 94. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it was almost guaranteed that oil was going to test 100 before we got the pullback, just because of how we've been moving up. But I'll tell you right now, oil has been falling. Okay. The biggest thing that's happening with oil is the expectation of demand globally. And the demand was a pretty big shock at the OPEC meeting. And that's why you're seeing this massive sell-off so quickly here. Now, if oil loses $80 to $81, this thing could really start selling back off. And I'm not going to say you're going to drop below lows, but you have to keep it, on the table, because we saw what happened when you broke above this level here. You went straight up to your next level, right? Because it was very illiquid. Now coming back down, we start to break below 81. You're probably testing 78, and below 78, you're pretty illiquid back down into 70, 69. So again, oil, pretty big shocker. And why oil is so important is because oil was the leading indicator of a pullback on the market, whether you want to admit it or not. Giving you a visual here, right? We're just going to add SPY here just so you can see really quick. So it's going to be a line chart, but still you'll get a good viewpoint. So what was SPY doing, right? Giving you a little bit of a visual here, right? I want to just make sure you kind of understand what happened. So what we saw right here, this was your bottom here on oil. You started ticking back up. SPY ended up topping out here in July and then really pulling back into where we're at right now. Giving you a visual, you had a very nice leading indicator. But why was it such a big leading indicator? Because you weren't getting that data on oil until like about 20, 30 days after, because it's a lagging indicator. So it's very important that we're tracking and following oil. And if you go back to here, right? We go back to last March until last May, right? Leading indicator. Guess what happened? You bottom out down here on SPY, and then you start going right back up. Once oil really starts getting hammered in energy, that's when you see the benefits on inflation. So I'm not saying inflation's, cured by any means, or we're going to see great reports. The next CPI reading, I think it's going to be pretty bad, but I still am going to say, going into the end of the year, if oil continues to move like this, the Fed will have a good tone. I'm going to tell you right now, they've been talking a lot about oil and energy. They're going to mention it if oil keeps dropping like this, and they'll talk about the benefits for the economy with that as well. Now, the only other underlying indicator that I will say, the only other one, okay, that we're going to mention are yields. The 2-year specifically, you're just sitting at highs. This is the most confusing, weird behavior of all. The 5-year, you're pulling back a little bit on the day, past 2 days. 10-year, pulling back a little bit as well. 30-year, kind of holding up. So what I'm going to say here, though, as well, and this is why I say be cautious with the dollar and with oil. This could just be a little bit of a shock move, a shock pullback. So what I'm saying here is yields are still holding up very high. Right? We've seen yields hold up while the market moves up and then yields gradually pull back. But yields haven't signaled that dismissal of concern yet, if I'm saying that. So yields are still very high and concerning. DXY is pulling back. Oil really shockingly pulling back. We need to see if that's going to actually hold up there. So we're going to go over a little bit of equities and what we're liking here. Let's go over some stocks we're looking at, stocks we're liking. Now, number one, obviously, Apple mentioned it yesterday. What were we looking at here? You had a great trade if you got into this today. Really quickly go to the 5 minutes so you can see. This is the 174 level, constant rejections. You break back above it. You get, one 15-minute candle above it. You break, retest, boom, instantly back up to 175.4. Kind of bull flagging at the end of the day. You're looking for that test of 176.2, then 177 locally. Good action here on Apple. Love to see it. If Apple's moving up, I do suspect the SPY to get love. I'm going to tell you that right now. So if Apple continue, and Apple had a very strong day in past few days, been making higher lows. This is what you want to see, even though SPY has been pulling back. Tesla. Tesla was a little bit of a shocker here, right? So I had a little bit of a day trade today on Tesla. We mentioned it in Discord, right? I'll pull it up real quick so you guys can see, right? And so Tesla, pretty decent behavior. We got back above that 259 level. Look for the retest. We're pushing up, right? It ended up only getting up to 262, and it kind of stalled out into the day, pushed back down into that key level where we're at kind of right now. Okay, from this level, what I'm watching here, okay, if Tesla can hold this 259.5 level, you're looking really good. I ended up cutting half my position here, rest of that break even. So basically made decent profits, nothing fantastic. But you're looking for that test back into basically 65 locally. Okay, NVIDIA was one of the big names we've been mentioning. NVIDIA also great trade if you were here yesterday. What did we say? We had that nice ascending triangle forming out. You got above the 440 level as well. You're pushing up, trying to get that nice push up. NVIDIA has been a beast. You love what's happening here. We're looking for locally 450, 451. But again, we're NVIDIA, and I got to be really transparent about this. right? Where NVIDIA gets to the point of you think shorts have to start covering and we start getting really volatile, especially with the way Qs are moving. So these are things I think is probably the number one chart you need to be watching. NVIDIA gets above 464, this level right here. It's like your little line in the sand. And even 460, you get above 460. I think 460 starts to kick in. I believe shorts have to start covering on this for positions that they've gotten in. I already believe some probably have covered over 440, but I think 460 is that line in the sand to where you're expecting NVIDIA to go back into all-time highs once again. So you're looking right now basically into 450, trading this, day trading, scalping, but over 464, you get the green light for a lot of momentum, and you probably start seeing, QQQ start to run as well. So these are things to be looking for, little cute clues to big trades that we could possibly be making over the next few days as well. Okay, so these are other things I'm liking. Microsoft, mentioned this one as well yesterday. So Microsoft, very interesting action also. So giving you the viewpoint here of what we're looking at. And I saw that dip down to like 315, but you get pushed back up. You've been holding really nicely to 316.5 and then 318. Over 318 is where you go long, as we mentioned in yesterday's video. And over 318, you're targeting 320 and then 322. But ultimately with Microsoft, I think you got to be a little bit more careful here until you really get back above 330. 330 is where it's like all systems go. You're looking for that nice upside, okay? But over 322, you might get some trade action as well. Scalping 320, 322 first, and then we get the break and the hold of this level, like so. The break, obviously, let me get this of this level. It's not loading. Break, retest, and then into, of course, 330. That's ideally what we want to see. So you get some of that momentum and volume. That's what you're looking for. You can even probably get a little bit more of aggressive entry right above the local highs of October 2nd, which again are 322 to 322.5 to be a little bit safe if you want to be conservative. Again, lots of momentum pushing you back into the 330 range. I like it. I like it a lot. Last one up as well. Again, a few names on the list here. Amazon. So Amazon is doing something that I really like. This is your 100 MA on the weekly. Okay, you're holding this very nice, giving you a visual. You zoom out to like the 4 hour. I was showing Jay this as well today. So Amazon broke above the 100 MA weekly, broke above, retested, shot up, right? Retest, potentially getting some love to the upside, especially if inflation reports start to favor the downside on inflation. Amazon really takes hits on inflation. I think they have a lot of AI stuff that they're working on right now as well. A lot of good news coming out of there. So again, watching them, as long as they're holding this 100 MA, they start to get above this, you're looking for 130, and then you're breaking back into 135. Amazon could start going in a hurry. You also can kind of see the little bit of a pennant that you're kind of focused and trading in right now as well, right? Look at where you're at, kind of how you're moving. I have one more thing I need to cover as well for you guys, so make sure you're staying for a few more seconds. So you can see how you're breaking out of this as well. You would like to see a push out of that. That's what you'd like to see. The last thing I like to talk about is IWM, the Russell, risk on, risk off. That's kind of what this kind of tells us with the Russell, right? IWM, we talked about the head and shoulders way back. Go watch the videos if you need to. I don't really care. Around September 21st, September 22nd. That's when we kind of were covering this. Okay, you're at the bottom of your range that you had back in April. Basically like, this 170 level. You're finding support. And if we look at volume, you're also finding buyers stepping in here. Volume is very telling here. You see rising volume signaling potentially a bottom, a reversal. You saw it here. You saw it here, right? And you're starting to see it down here as well. IWM starts moving up. I do think the market gets some love. I think you start seeing a risk on mentality in the short term as well. That's my viewpoint. If you have questions, comment down below. I'd love to answer them. Have a good one, traders.